Have you ever gotten to the end of a really, really big story and you just had to know how it all wrapped up? Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're jumping straight to the final chapter of the biggest story of all time, the ultimate conclusion to the battle between good and evil. So yeah, let's just get right into it.
So this is the big question, right? After all the history, all the struggle, all the hope, how does it actually play out? Who's standing at the end? What happens to our world? And maybe most importantly, what comes next? Well, that is exactly what we're about to unpack.
Okay, so to get our bearings, we need to know when this is all happening. Our story picks up after a full 1,000 years have gone by. Christ is on his way back to Earth, but he's not coming alone. He's bringing all the good people with him, the ones who were raised back to life in what's called the first resurrection, 1,000 years before this moment. And they're all descending together inside this incredible, shining city. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. At Christ's command, a second resurrection happens. All the wicked people who ever lived are brought back to life. And the difference between these two groups? It's literally night and day. See, the righteous who were resurrected 1,000 years earlier are shining with youth and life. But the wicked, they come back looking exactly as they did when they died, still carrying the marks of sickness and struggle. It's a pretty powerful picture of the two different paths they chose.
So imagine this huge crowd of people looking up, and they see the Son of God in all his glory. And something incredible happens. Together, as one voice, they all shout out this blessing. But it's not because they've had a sudden change of heart. Not at all. The source material says the truth of who he is so overwhelming, it just forces the words out of them. It's like a moment of pure, involuntary honesty.
All right, let's switch perspectives for a second. The leader of this whole rebellion, Satan. He's been miserable and pretty much alone for 1,000 years, but suddenly he looks around and sees billions of people on his side, and all his old ambitions come rushing back. He sees a massive army, and he thinks, you know what? I can still win this. He decides right then and there to fight one last gigantic battle for control of everything.
Okay, this is super important. We need to be crystal clear on who we're talking about here. Satan isn't some monster with horns and a pitchfork. He is a fallen angel. He's brilliant, he's powerful, and his main weapon has always been deception. He's a master of disguise. He doesn't show up as the bad guy. He presents himself as a hero, a redeemer who's here to save everybody. And he's about to pull his biggest con ever. So how does he do it? How do you rally an army that's just been resurrected? Well, you tell them a really big lie. He claims the world was stolen from him, and he's the rightful king. He starts performing incredible miracles to prove his point, making people who feel weak suddenly feel powerful. And he gives them all a single unifying mission: march on that holy city and take it for ourselves. And we're not talking about just any army. The source material describes a force that's almost impossible to imagine. It's like the greatest hits of every powerful, rebellious figure in history. You've got giants from before the flood, the most famous kings and conquerors the world has ever known, all of them lined up together. The sheer number is like the sand on the seashore. And here's the really crazy part. They totally buy it. They believe they can actually win. They look at their huge numbers, they see their legendary leaders, and they are 100% convinced that they can break down the walls of that city and put their guy back on the throne. So the army marches. They surround the New Jerusalem, getting into perfect battle formation. The tension is building. The generals give the order to attack, and then, nothing. The gates of the holy city just close. On the command of Jesus, everyone inside is completely safe. The attack stops before it can even begin.
And just like that, the scene changes completely. The battlefield becomes a courtroom. High above the city, this magnificent white throne appears with Christ on it. The final judgment for the entire universe is about to start, and every single eye, inside and outside the city, is fixed on him.
What happens next is like the entire history of the conflict playing out on a giant panoramic screen. Everyone sees it all. They see Adam's very first mistake. Then they see the life of Jesus, a life of just pure love and kindness. And then they witness the scenes of his sacrifice on the cross. For the first time, everyone, saved and lost, sees the whole story and finally understands why things had to end this way. And then the camera, so to speak, zooms in. It gets personal. Every single person in that vast crowd outside the city relives their own life. They see every choice they made, every time they turned away from goodness. From kings who ordered terrible things to the ordinary people who went along with it,
They all see their own guilt, and there are no more excuses left. This is the moment, the climax of the entire trial. As the sound of praise from inside the city washes over everyone, the entire rebellious army, and yep, even Satan himself, they all bow down. And with one voice, they all declare that God's decisions have been fair, just, and true from the very beginning. And just like that, the case is closed. So the verdict is in. Everyone agrees that it's fair. But there is one last, final thing that has to happen. The whole problem of sin and all the sadness and pain it caused, it has to be removed forever, so that true peace can finally last for eternity. Now, you'd think after admitting that God is just, that would be the end of it for Satan. But no, his character hasn't changed one bit. Being faced with the truth doesn't automatically change your heart. That spirit of rebellion just flares up one last time. In a total frenzy, he runs back to his followers to try and whip them up for one more pointless fight.
But it's too late. The spell is broken. Nobody's listening to him anymore. His power over them is gone. In fact, his followers now see him for what he is, the one who tricked them, the one who led them to this ruin. And they are filled with this intense hatred for him. They turn on him and his closest followers with absolute fury.
And that's when fire rains down from heaven. Now, the source material is clear. This isn't just about punishment. It's a cleansing. It's meant to completely purify the earth and destroy sin right down to its source. Satan is the root, and his followers are the branches. This fire is the universe's final, ultimate reset button. But the end of all that sadness isn't really the end of the story. It's actually the start of a brand new one. So after all that, what does this beautiful new world even look like?
Well, that same fire that cleanses the earth also prepares it to become a perfect home. A world with no more death, no more crying, no more pain. A place where animals are all friends, where people get to build their own homes and plant gardens, and where you can actually talk with God face to face. It's a life of endless discovery, creativity, and joy.
This promise really captures just how complete this fresh start is. I mean, imagine a world where nobody ever says, "I'm sick again." Not just because sickness is gone, but because the root cause of all suffering, sin itself, has been totally forgiven and removed forever. And yet, in this perfect new world, one single reminder of the old, broken one will remain. Jesus, our Redeemer, will always have the marks from the crucifixion. But they won't be a source of sadness. They'll be the highest honor in the universe, a permanent reminder of just how much he loves us and what it costs to bring us home.
And with that, it's finished. The great conflict between good and evil is finally over. Sin is gone. The entire universe is clean. From the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, everything and everyone exists in perfect harmony, all declaring one simple truth, that God is love.
And that's where our story for today ends, with this incredible picture of renewal and lasting peace. It kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on. If you had the power to design a perfect world, what's the one thing you would absolutely make sure was in it? Something to think about.